How's everybody doing? Welcome back to the channel, Sketching Deep, with another DIY video. Today, like the title implies, I'm going to show you how I go about adding power to my bed. Now, I do have a Gladiator Sport Max Tow, but did not come with, or did not get the option for the in-bed 110 AC outlet. So let me show you exactly what I'm doing. Whether or not you have the bed line from the factory, you're gonna have a little plate right here if you didn't get the power from factory. All you have to do is take a flathead screwdriver or something and pry it off, and then you're gonna have to widen this hole right here to accept whatever type of plate you're using. Now this particular one I got off Amazon. The link will be available in the description. And I went ahead and just used my rotary tool and cut out a wide enough hole to fit everything in the slot. And I still didn't cut it out wide enough for everything, because once you determine the diameter of the holes, this one doesn't really count. It's when you flip it over, you got to take into consideration the jam nut that holds everything in place and the width of that. And by the time I completed that, it was going to be way too wide, and there was going to be gaps in between the plate and the bed itself. So I just went ahead and cut it out wide enough to where I can put the plate on the bed and then put the jam nuts from the back. So dangling right here underneath the bed is going to be my ground wire coming all the way from the engine bay, and also my power wire coming from the engine bay. Now this is going to be a 10 gauge wire, and this is going to be, I believe this is a 14 or 16 gauge wire. And I put 10 gauge wire for the power wire because I didn't know how much current I was going to be utilizing, and you want to have as much gauge as possible running that long of a distance. I bought a 25 feet cable of 10 gauge from Amazon. The link again will be available in the description, but I only used about 20 of it. For my power wire, I also made a jumper as well. That's going to be needed for all the different switches. So this one is coming off of the switch itself. Then this thick wire is going to go to the 12-volt cigarette lighter, because that's going to be drawing the most current. And then the smaller 14 or 16 gauge wire goes to my USB adapter, not drawing a lot of current. And then my actual gauge itself, my voltmeter, which is also not drawing a lot of current. And the ground wire, which I didn't show you previously, is also set up in the same manner. Everything's already jumped to go to all of the different components on the switch itself. So I routed that using some wire loom I got from the auto store, about, again, 20 feet of it, to the frame of the vehicle. I'll show you exactly how I routed that. And it goes all the way into the bed, following the frame, through the fender well, and into the engine compartment. Now in the engine compartment, here's that ground wire being installed onto the chassis ground over here, and then my power wire, which I also fused, is going to my auxiliary switch, which I made a connector for. If you want to see how I did this, go ahead and watch the ARB compressor install video. You could also, if you don't have the auxiliary switch from the factory, you can go ahead and just remember to fuse this and install it straight to the battery, and then use your switch that's on the bed to turn on or turn off the entire system. But I do have the auxiliary switch, so I went ahead and installed it into the auxiliary switch. Once I cut everything out, I went ahead and did some touch-up paint on any exposed metal to prevent any rust later on. I also have some black silicone adhesive, which I'll be using to kind of seal the plate against the bed as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to install this plate. I already drilled out 4 screws, holes, 1, 2, 3, 4, using a 1/8 inch bit. And then the screws that come with the plate, they're self-tapping. I went ahead and tightened them in and make sure everything fits. So now I'm going to install the plate from the front, and then start installing these connectors from the front, and then the nuts from the back. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm taking my different receptacles with the jam nuts in the back, and I'm sliding the receptacle in from the front, and I'm going to install the jam nut from the back. Pro tip: when working with RTV or silicone, make sure you wear gloves. Makes the cleanup a whole lot easier. Okay, so now with the switch, something I have to do is I have to pop out the switch itself so that I can get to the connector, because I won't be able to get it from the inside or from the back. So I have to pop it out, install just this portion, and then feed the wire through it like so, and then attach the wires and then pop this in. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go between the fender and the bracket and install my jumper for both the ground and the positive. So with this wire and then the main wire come from the battery, I'm going to feed it through that hole so I can connect the switch as well as the ground and then pop the switch back in.
All right, so this is what everything looks like when it's all connected. This main one right here is where I have the wires running in so that I can connect the switch portion, but everything else is connected.
Now what I did on my phone was I took a picture of the orientation of my positive and negative terminals so that I know which one got connected to where from the backside of the panel, because it's kind of hard to see when it's mounted. So I took a picture before actually installing it. So you see positive goes on that side, negative goes on that side, so on and so forth. So now all I have to do is connect the switch and push it in. I left the switch out a little bit just in case I got to fix something, but that's it right there. Let's go turn on the Jeep, turn on auxiliary switch 3 and see what happens. Key fob not detected. I know where my fire extinguisher is at just in case, but let's see. Turn on 3. I ain't hear no sparks, didn't see any smoke. Let's see. So right now there's no power. Should be able to flip the switch and get my power. Turn it off again. No power. So now what I have to do is go into my settings and turn auxiliary switch to battery power so that I still get power even when the vehicle is turned off. And now when I turn it off, auxiliary switch 3 should remain in the on position. All right, so now I should get power even when the vehicle is turned off. Auxiliary switch 3 should still be on. So let's see. Auxiliary switch 3 still have power, so there's my 12.6 volts. So now I'm gonna hook up some USB devices as well as a 12-volt thing that I purchased just for this to make sure everything is still functioning. So let's do that. Okay, so I tried the USB in both slots and the phone does charge. So the USB is working, charging right there, and my refrigerator is also working right now. It's telling us that there's 12.3 volts on the battery right now, and that's saying about 12.4 volts on the switch panel, so fairly accurate. This was the reason why I installed the switch in the bed, was to power this refrigerator, which I will be doing a comprehensive and full in-depth review on once I start utilizing it. So make sure you subscribe to the channel for that video, which will be coming up soon. That pretty much wraps up the entire video. By the way, I do have a 10 amp fuse in that power wire in the engine compartment, if you're wondering, or if I haven't said that. But that wraps up the video. Thank you for watching. Leave comments. Hopefully everybody can put it to good use. Share it if you think it's shareable, and y'all have a good one.